Good evening, everyone. I'm going to discuss to you the dangers of drinking and driving and how a cab service can be your best friend. Now, I know you've probably heard and discussed this topic before many times, but this issue has been ignored so many times in the past by so many people that people don't learn their lesson on how serious drinking and driving can be until something dangerous happens to them. I've ignored this issue myself actually in the past. However, this topic becomes more deep meaning when something happens to somebody that you know that's involved in a drunk driving accident. I'll be sharing with you in just a few minutes a recent experience I had a couple weeks ago that I avoided a drunk driving accident myself. First of all, here are a few reasons why you should take my advice not to drink and drive. Number one, driving under the influence of alcohol not only risks your own life, but you're risking the lives of the passengers in the car with you that night, and you're also risking the life of an innocent driver on the road. On the flip side, you may be the designated driver that night, but you still may be in a chance to get into an accident from somebody else who was under the influence of alcohol, who was driving as well. You're also at stake of receiving a DUI. Police will by no means show any sympathy to anybody whose blood alcohol level is over 0.08, which is the legal limit for you to be able to consume enough alcohol to drive a vehicle. According to Detective Joe Paglino from the Monmouth County Prosecutor's Office, drunk driving makes you a threat to society, and if you were to get into an accident, depending on the impact of the accident, you're also a suspect of manslaughter. Now, according to Professor David J. Hansen, drunk driving is like most other social problems that have simple solutions that people just resist to obey. For example, most of my friends who I go out with don't want to spend the money on a cab. I just think this is ridiculous because most of the places that we go to, the cab fee is only $8. I don't agree with their thinking whatsoever because they would rather spend the extra $8 on 2 or 3 more beers. But personally, I would rather spend that $8 on a cab because I know that I'm getting in the car with a sober driver and I'm avoiding a lot of my chances of getting into an accident. My friends in this case are a perfect example of how this issue is overlooked as a serious offense and also as a serious life-threatening matter. This type of thinking that my friends have is the main reason why drinking and driving happens. Now let me give you some of the stats on people who drink and drive who think that it won't happen to them. 41% of fatal crashes involve drunk driving. People from the ages of 25 to 35 have a history of DWI convictions. Over 10,000 people a year die in alcohol-related accidents. More than 500,000 accidents each year involving alcohol happens once every 2 minutes a day. 1.46 million drivers who are arrested who are driving their vehicles under the influence of alcohol, and those are just the ones that just get caught. Now that we've viewed the stats of drinking and driving, let's discuss some ways we could avoid this issue from happening. Consider the following options before going out at night. If you had too much to drink and your car is at the location you've been drinking all night, lock your car doors and pick up your car tomorrow morning. Consider calling a cab service, which is the one that I would prefer doing. Bring some extra money with you. Some things happen while you're out at night. You never know when you're going to want that cab. So always bring some extra money with you. It's the safest bet in my eyes. Consider sleeping over somebody's house. Ask one of the group of friends that you go out with that night if you can crash at their house, and then you can pick your car up in the morning. Consider calling a friend or a relative. Call somebody that you're really, really close with that you know will be able to come and pick you up. A good selling point, though, if you're calling them late at night, is to offer them something in return for the ride. If all else fails and you're having trouble finding a ride going to or going from your destination, don't go out. To me, this is where the biggest problem of drunk driving happens. People don't want to waste an opportunity to go out to a bar or to go out to a party and drink with their peers. So when they don't have a ride, they'll just drive themselves, just for the sake because they don't want to miss out on the party. Well, a recent story that I like to share with you is 2 incidents happened between 2 of my friends within 3 days. The first incident happened with my best friend Chris. One night he called me up and he said, "Hey, let's go out to Donovan's." I said, "No, I have something else to do." 3-4 hours later, Chris calls me up and says, "Can you pick me up? Because my car's being impounded and I just got a $3,000 DWI ticket." 3 days later, I go out at night with my friend Zach and a couple of my friends. We go to this bar, and then I meet up with a couple of other friends at a different bar for a little while. A couple hours later, Zach comes to the bar that I was at, and he meets up with me for a little while. Towards the end of the night, Zach comes up to me and says, "I'm ready to leave. Are you ready to leave?" I said, "No, not yet. I'm going to take a cab home. You guys can go now." Little did I know, I didn't know Zach was driving. The next morning, I wake up, I find out Zach crashed his car into a porch. So thank God I wasn't in that car. My dad always told me that nothing good could come out of drinking and driving. Thank God I listened to him. Now I want you all to listen to me. Take it from my friends who experienced the worst tragedies with drinking and driving. An $8 cab ride is not worth a $3,000 DWI, getting into an accident, or even somebody's life. This is the picture of my friend Zach's accident. Thank God I wasn't in there. Take my advice. You don't want to be in this situation. Thank you all for your time.
That was very good.